On the first day of school, Peter Newcomb, head of the Masters Upper School, announced that there was a new no-phone policy in classrooms. The old policy for upper school students was that students could carry their phones on them and were just expected to not use them in class. Instead, this year students will now put their phones in a phone pocket holder and then be allowed to pick them up on their way out of class. I spoke to Newcomb and 5 students from the upper school to understand the reasoning behind the policy and hear some student reactions to its implementation. Newcomb helps explain the timeline of the policy.
So one department went out and purchased their own cell phone holders. They used them, some members did, and felt like it was working really well in terms of making the class more engaging. And so then the year after that, in 2022, we purchased them for every classroom. Some faculty and students chose to use them, some didn't. And at the end of this past school year, 22-23, we decided to make it an official formal policy.
The purpose of this policy coming from Newcomb was not to restrict the freedoms of upper schoolers, but to instead make learning more engaging.
While there are others that have done, check your phone in kind of like the middle school where you just check your phone into a sleeve and it's gone for the day. That didn't feel right to us. Trying to find a balance of giving some agency during free times, just not during classes.
In the master's hallways, students share a spectrum of opinions. First-year upper school student Catherine Benson explains that for some classes, the phone policy seems unnecessary.
For classes like study hall, which is implemented today, and extracurriculars, it's frustrating knowing I'm the type of person to want to record my thoughts and look up things on my phone to double check myself and my answers.
Senior Toby Friedman, on the other hand, argued against the phone policy for different reasons.
I mean, if something goes wrong at home, they say that they can call the office, but my mom doesn't know what the office's phone number is. She communicates directly with me, and oftentimes I use my phone for enhancing my learning in class.
Toby also explains that he feels like he's missing a resource in the classroom.
A person nowadays doesn't leave their house without their phone. It's just not normal. It's typical to have it with them. So to be walking around for 80 minutes or be sitting in a class and not have your phone on you, it just makes you feel a little uncomfortable.
Others feel like even though they were initially annoyed, they now have a new feeling about the policy. Senior Silas Rosenfeld explains his reaction.
But I kind of quickly realized it doesn't really affect me that much, and if anything, I find it kind of de-stressing in a way to have my phone just completely out of balance. It helps me stay focused in class, which is something I think is very important when you're a senior.
Another student, junior, Gabby Olay, feels like she doesn't mind it as much as some of her other peers.
I think it's kind of nice to disconnect during class. At first I was definitely quite surprised, but at the same time I feel like this is probably more effective than just letting people leave their phones in their bags.
Past Masters Middle School students are surprised that the upper school now has implemented a phone policy too. Freshman Henry Frasca explains how he feels.
I thought we would have more freedom and be able to use our phones. My sister was telling me about the freedom we had with our phones, so it was a bit interesting that we weren't allowed to have them during class. Now that we're in high school, we use our phones a lot, so it does become kind of a need at some times during class too.
While many opinions were covered in this segment, it's important to note that each master's student and faculty hold their own opinions, and it's important to understand that there is no one consensus among the student body. Newcomb encourages students to try and think about the policy in a new way.
It's really about the student and teacher interactions, and it sounds like from the faculty I'm hearing from that those interactions have been longer, more sustained, people are more intellectually present.
Anna Moscato, TBN.